Guys, what's up? Welcome back to In-Laws and Out of Bounds. Just want to hit it here before we get into the interview with Coach Wade Miller. We did have some technical difficulties towards the end of the episode, and we do apologize. We only lost about 4 minutes worth of the interview there, but it was some funny content there, unfortunately, about Emilio's Lakey experiences with Coach Miller beating him at Woodsboro and things of that nature. So we do apologize, but we do hope you enjoy this episode. We're going to get right into it here. And here it is, interview with Coach Wade Miller. Welcome back, everybody. It's almost time for football season here in Uvalde, Texas, and we are excited. We know you are excited as well. Today, we're going to be joined by athletic director and head coach of the Uvalde Coyotes, Wade Miller, and we are excited to have him here. We're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming football season, about Coach Miller himself, reflect a little bit on last season, and go from there. Coach Miller, thank you for joining the In-Laws and Out of Bounds Sports podcast. We appreciate you taking time to be here with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. I love talking about my guys. So
Yes, sir. Well, let's get into it. So real easy opening question, Coach. Basically, before we go into this year and go back, what brought you to Uvalde, and what about this community made you want to be a part of this program?
actually, I grew up just south of Boston, a little town called Luling, Texas. And then I've been coaching. This will be my 32nd season coming up. My wife and I have been married and bounced around all over the state. And she's from this area. She's from Castroville. And her dad got kind of sick and she wanted to be closer to her family. So about 6 years ago, we started looking for jobs in the area. And I had never really been to Uvalde, and now that we're here, we're never going anywhere. I'm gonna coach as long as I can and then eventually retire here. I mean, it's just a great community. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but when you get old and don't like to do things very much like me, that's kind of a good thing.
The city life is for it's not always what it's cracked up to be, right? It's nice
Yeah.
to
That's
be
for the
nice to be
birds,
out.
coach.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely for the birds. Yeah, no, well, we're glad that we have somebody here that cares about the community and is here, and that's awesome. You've been through we've been through some things here recently, obviously with the flood here this year. That was a big thing that happened with the community. Has that had any?
I've never seen anything like it. And I lived in Corpus for 15 years and had a couple hurricanes come through, but from Sunday night into Thursday morning, I had 21 inches of rain at my house.
Yeah,
It was insane.
yes, sir.
We were fortunate; we didn't get in any flooded. I did have two coaches, and my two trainers are actually married, and their house got flooded. So we've been doing a lot of work helping them get ready and stuff. I'll say this for my guys though: I had a bunch of my football players show up that first day, and let me tell you what, we've been ripping out drywall and taking stuff to the dump and all that the last week. So it's going to be, we're getting back to normal. I know all my coaches have already started re-drywalling and getting their houses stuff together and dried out and stuff. So we're excited to maybe get a little back to normal after the last couple of weeks.
100%. We all are, for sure, for sure.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess right before we get into a little bit of last year, what would you say? Coming on board, this is your third, fourth year here, correct? How
This will
long
be
you
my
been here?
sixth.
Your sixth year. Okay, I'm
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
I had a little short there. Sixth. What when you look at where your program is today, what are you most proud of that where it is from where it was when you got here?
Well, when we got here right after in the aftermath of COVID and the kids, they did a lot of at home learning and stuff like that. And we got here and we were upfront and honest with them. It was one of the weakest football teams I've ever seen in my life. Like we would put kids in the right position and we weren't strong enough to tackle people. Now it's one of the strongest groups I've ever had the last couple of years. And their dedication to, understand that we're probably never going to be faster, never going to be bigger, but we can damn sure be stronger than everybody else. Like they live in that weight room. And I'm proud of them for understanding what they need to do and putting in the work that they need to do.
Great. What was it? I mean, so you're talking about, was it just a lack of culture as far as like, hey guys, you're gonna, like you said, we're never gonna be bigger, we're never gonna be faster. You have to get your butt in there and work at it, right? I mean, what does that look like as far as your standard of Uvalde football player for that?
Well, we lift when we're in school, we lift heavy. We lift heavy 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every week. Then the linemen understand the importance that they need to be powerlifters, so they have powerlifting practice. I've got two really good powerlifting coaches. One of them opens it up at 5 a.m. and goes till school starts, and the other one's after school till about 6:30. And they understand that if we're going to have any chance of success at all, they have to be part of those programs. So and the kids find out, and I tell them it's not me trying to be a jerk, but if you're not the one in there getting stronger, you're going to get bypassed by the ones that are.
Mhm.
So we finally gotten that point across, and I don't know, I don't really want to speak about how it was before I got here because I don't really know. But
Same.
they have bought in the last 5 years into that's what we have to do. And you'll watch them play, and we don't get pushed around. We may get run by or things like that, but we don't get pushed around, and we play really hard. And I tell them all the time, there's no playing without effort. If you can't give effort all the time, then you're not going to play. And now I've been here long enough where these guys that I have that are going to be seniors were incoming. They've never played for anybody else, so that
Yes,
they
sir.
get the expectations, and there's no argument, and they just do it. I mean,
Yeah.
let's do it.
I'll tell you that I went to the Davenport game last year that was here, and even though it didn't end like we wanted to on the scoreboard, y'all definitely held your own at the line of scrimmage and different things like that. And I was
Yeah,
proud
and
of the
then
effort. Yeah.
and then we really played good over here when we played them here at the Honey Bowl this last season. It was
Yep.
14-6 at halftime, and
Yep.
they scored a couple of late touchdowns. And I thought, to be honest with you, that's one of the best games we played all year.
Yeah. No, that was the one that it was at. I was very impressed. And transitioning, since we're talking about last season, when you look back at it, what did you learn about your football team as a whole?
Just we were in a super tough. Excuse me. We
That's
were in a
okay.
super tough district, and they came out and competed every night. Now I think our district's gotten a little bit better with the new realignment. I have a lot of kids coming back. I'm going to have to replace now for those 5 offensive linemen. But I had a really good JV football team last year, and we purposely last year did not move one sophomore up. We kept them together, and they won a lot of games. So while they don't have varsity experience, these guys have a ton of experience. They
Yeah.
played a bunch.
Yeah.
So we're really super excited about that and all that kind of good stuff.
Definitely. Yeah. For those that don't know, this year it does look a lot different. You're replacing Davenport, Canyon Lake, Fredericksburg, and you've got Creekview, who's the new Castroville High School, right? You've got JFK is going to be in here. You got Lavernia, who was a team that went 3 rounds deep in the playoffs, right? So you did move away from some of those, and your district does look a little better this year. What So keeping those guys as sophomores there, what are the positives that you see going into this season from,
Well,
taking
number
away from
one,
all that?
they gained a lot of confidence, and
Mhm.
like we even purposely scheduled their first game was against a 2A varsity team, and we had a lead going into the fourth quarter. And those guys had struggled some younger, but like I say, athletic wise, we're not always the best athletic team, and so they struggled some in junior high. But after a couple of years in the weight program, they realized that they could compete with people like that. And then my little freshman team, I've got multiple sophomores on the varsity this year. My little freshman team went 9-1 last year, and the only team they lost to was Davenport, who went 10-0.
Mhm.
So that's a really, really talented group, and we're excited about those guys.
Yeah. Milo, you got anything before I
Yeah,
take it
coach,
over?
that was one of my questions that I had for you was if you had any underclassmen. I went through y'all's roster and noticed that it was a lot of juniors and seniors, and so I was curious if you had any underclassmen that were going to be out there that you expected to make a name for themselves and make themselves known this year.
I've got 4 of those kids that were on that freshman team last year. A running back, and we learned both sides of the ball. So I'm gonna say a running back and safety, and a quarterback and safety, and both of those two will almost 100% start at the 2 safety spots, and like they're physically ready to go, and they were 2 of the best players. And then my 2 offensive tackles this year will be sophomores, and they're big, strong kids. That kind of makes me nervous because they've only ever played other kids their age. But I feel like by the time it matters, when district gets here, those guys will be ready to go. So yeah, there's 4 of them we're relying on big time.
That's great. Yeah, and once you get through there, you've got to open it up. You play against some decent teams. You've got Carrizo and then Eagle Pass Win, Hondo and Marion. So they will have some good tests there before we get
Yeah,
into
those
district,
first
right?
3 games, I think we played those teams hundreds of times. I don't even think I could change that schedule if I wanted to. I know somebody told me that us and Hondo was one of the oldest rivalries in the state. We play them every year. And then Marion, I was originally supposed to play Jerdenton that week. The guy Jerdenton, him and I worked together forever. He's one of my best friends, and they got put in an 18 district. And you get older like me, and you coach so many places with so many people. The guy Marion and I, we coached together, actually commuted together for 4 years. And
Mhm.
he called me, man, I can't find a game. So that's kind of how that game came about. But we feel like our preseason schedule kind of really helps us set up and be ready to go when district gets here. And then we start district with Lavernia, and they're always tough.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Yep.
they were a tough team. They looked like they won 13 ball games last year, and it'd be a good test of what it what looks like right there. So that'd be good. What would you say? Because what are we, a week away from 2 days, or it starts right
We start next Monday.
next Monday. That's
it's
right. So
coming.
you're coming. What would you say right now before you get into the camp are 3 words to describe this team going into the year?
These guys are really tight. I mean, tight would be a word like they, and you hate to put it this way, but they hang out together all the time. It's like you hardly ever see them with anybody else.
Yeah.
And then they're really hardworking. Like they understand the agenda, right? I mean, they know what we need to do. They're tight, they're hardworking, and they can give me a headache. I mean, they like never shut up. I mean, but I mean, when you get kids that are that close, they have no issue messing with each other. So there's times in the locker room I just shut the door. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Yeah, yeah. That is good. I mean, you need that as a team, right? You want the camaraderie. That's awesome. No, that's fantastic. So with the guys going into the season, with some of the youngness you have or youth that you have, what's your biggest strength that you think you have going on?
Our biggest strength is going to be the number of kids we return on defense. We return all of our linebackers, and I have those 2 sophomores playing safety, but a couple of our D linemen, and we feel like that with the influx of those 2 sophomores that can really play, that our defense should be much more athletic and a lot better. But yeah, that's what we think we're going to have as good a secondary linebacker crew as we've had since I've been here.
Gotcha. Have y'all named a starting quarterback yet?
We have not. In fact, I have got 3 quarterbacks. They say if you have more than one, you don't have any. But I've got 3. I've got a kid that's a sophomore who's going to start at safety. And man, he's like probably the most athletic of the 3 of them, but he's 150 pounds and he's only played against kids his age and things like that. The upside with him is like he's also one of the smartest kids on the team. Then I've got a kid that's a junior that as a freshman, when we had some injuries, got thrust into being the JV quarterback as a freshman. So he's been the JV quarterback for 2 years, and he could probably call the offense just as easily as I do. I mean, he knows the ins and outs. He knows the blocking schemes. He knows all that. And then I got a kid that's a senior that's a really good linebacker for us, and he's a really good football player. But he moved in last summer, and his understanding of the offense, because where he came from, they ran a slot T, so it was completely different. So his understanding of the offense, while it isn't quite there yet, if it gets there, he's probably going to be the guy. I told those guys they wouldn't know who the starter was after the second scrimmage because, hell, I don't know. I mean, I really don't.
Yeah, got to get some playing time. So coming from a wing T, what do you think, or what do you want the identity of the offense to be? Excuse me.
We want to be physical. That's what we want to hang our hat on and be able to run the football, but then be able to throw it when we need to. And, we had a good little quarterback the last couple of years. He was a 3-year starter, and he was really accurate, and he was a good leader. We want to try to rely on those big old linemen a little bit more. And I've got 2 tailbacks. I was telling somebody the other day, this will be my 16th year as a head coach. And of the 3 best tailbacks I have 2 of them on this team. One's a senior and one's a sophomore. And those 2 guys can play. So our goal is get those guys to football and just hopefully stay on people long enough to get a crease for them.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got something, Emilio? Or I keep?
No. I mean, I think I'm excited
so I just don't want to
see how that goes. Coach, we've talked about the district realignment a couple times, and a lot of the schools in your district, they're part of those San Antonio metroplexes, which come with their advantages. You get kids that leave one school district to go to another, and some of them are even bigger school districts. How do you try to combat that, being here in Uvalde where you're a little bit more secluded?
Well, let me tell you, I came from Corpus, and in Corpus, I lived right in the middle of Corpus Christi Miller, which went on an unprecedented run the last couple of years of having really good football teams. And then 4 miles from my high school was Cal Allen. So we would win junior high districts every year at Toloso, and then a lot of our good ones would move to Cal Allen or Miller. The one thing I feel that helps me, while we don't get as many move-ins, being an hour and a half from San Antonio, very rarely do I lose a kid that I've developed. So we feel like the upside for us, and the downside is they'll have kids move around all the time and get certain kids move in. The upside for us is we hardly ever lose a kid. And if we get a kid as a 7th grader and develop him by the time he's a junior into a good football player, we know he's going to be here his junior and senior year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of deep groups that are happening there.
So when I was in Corpus, like I say, I had a kid that I've developed. He gets to be a junior, and he finds out he's not starting Hell, he might be at Cal Allen tomorrow. I never know.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I didn't.
That's unfortunate. Well, and I wonder how much of an impact, sports and youth sports has changed so much, and I'm sure your time is the 32 years, right? And you get so much influence from the very top all the way to the bottom, and especially now that NIL is such a big deal. And I know that doesn't impact high school necessarily, but kids seeing those kind of players transferring every year and going different places and things like that. As you get into those bigger metroplexes, I'm imagining there's a lot of similarities that are happening there,
Yeah.
right?
And I'll say this for youth sports, while the only towns really close are Sabinal and LaPrire and stuff like that, man, we have one of the best youth football, and there's a ton of them, and it's just mainly our kids that play each other. But like we have a great youth football program here.
Well, 100%. Yeah, I know some guys that run some coach or that are coaches for those, and they dedicate a lot of time and effort into that stuff, and it's very impressive what they're able to do, and the amount of kids to bring on.
Yeah, and I had to meet with them today and let them know, we're coming out here Monday because they're always on our practice field. Y'all gonna have to move Monday at 6. I'm just telling you.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's something that's great. So, I was born in Uvalde, went to school here a little bit, but I went to Sabinal and that's what I claim my hometown, right? And Emilio's from Lakey, so we're
I did not know that.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So we're very small town kids, right? So we didn't get the same youth programs growing up and things like that. And now that, I live here in Uvalde, my wife's from here as well. She graduated from Uvalde, and just having my own kids come up and seeing these programs that everybody's wanting to develop, it's a huge positive, and especially when the high school's involved in that kind of development is great.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll give the people here props too, because we've had some years we've struggled, and they understand. They want to keep us around because they understand that building consistency is what's going to make these guys good football players, and it's like, so like I say, we love it here, and they've been great.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's awesome. Getting back to your schedule a little bit here, what do you how competitive do you expect this district play to be this year? Obviously, we talked about Lavernia and them going 3 rounds deep. You've got JFK. Surely some of those guys are going to be a little more competitive this year than last year. You were able to get 3 wins in district last year, correct? So you do have a little bit of advantage.
We actually tied for that 4th playoff spot,
Yep.
but
Mhm.
we ended up being pointed out. Honestly, I think Lavernia is probably head and shoulders above the rest. And I'm not saying we can't beat them, because if we play good, we showed last year against Davenport we can play with anybody.
Yep.
And then I think probably the second best team is Somerset. They've had a couple of those big city move-ins.
Yes, sir.
And then after that, I picked us 3rd, but after that, us, Pleasanton, Floresville, even Kennedy's going to be a lot better. I think it's a coin flip for all of us. And Creekview, who knows, right? I mean,
Right.
I know they're telling me they're not going to have any seniors, but I remember when Corpus Vets opened, I was the AD at 2A Woodsboro, and they were looking for a game, and I said, man, y'all got something? Oh, we don't have any seniors. Well, hell, I get to Buck Stadium. They got more seniors than I got players. And and they actually kicked a field goal, beat us 46-43 that night. So I can't play.
Yeah. At least
I don't have no idea about Creekview. I know eventually they're probably going to be really good where that's located.
They will. Yeah, I'm sure they will. Yeah, and that whole Medina Valley and the split of everything, you never know. I agree. That's going to be a tough one. Well, we're going to put the Coyotes at number 1, just so you know. Coach.
There we go.
So, yeah, that's what we'll do.
I'm telling you right now, I talk about those two being better than us, but like I say, it was 14-6 against Davenport at halftime last year, and against Somerset, we were up 8-7. I mean, so what got us last year was just like a death. By the middle of the 3rd quarter, we were worn out, and they just kept rolling kids on one. They were just playing one side of the ball, and I got kids playing 80 snaps a game. They were just worn out by the end of it.
Yeah, we know how that goes.
Yeah, we know that real well, Coach.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, so we talked about this too, and maybe you've already kind of said it, but what do you think? Which game do you think is going to be telling of your team? I know you want to take it, game by game, right, and say, okay, hey, this, next week doesn't matter. It's only this week. But is there a game this season that you'll be like, okay, this is going to tell us really who we are, kind of deal?
Yeah, to me, I think it's going to be week 10 against Floresville here in the Honey Bowl, because I think that not only will that game may decide which ones of us get in the playoffs, but if not, it will definitely decide playoff positioning. And I think that's when we looked at our schedule, me and my coaches the other day, that was one of the ones that said, man, that week 10 game is going to be fun because it's going to be important.
Yeah. I love talking about just like the playoff. You know what I mean? Where we're going to be in the playoff positioning and all that kind of stuff. And I know you have to have that confidence because nobody else is going to have it in you if you don't. But it's just
Well,
exciting.
let me tell you a story. When
yeah.
I was at Woodsboro, my first 5 years as a head coach, I had some really good teams, and we made the playoffs every year. And we went to the second round twice and third round once. Hell, I thought it was easy. And then I moved, and I figured out I should have enjoyed that time more.
Yeah. Coach, I tell you what, I mean, it's Sabbath now, so it's a little different, right? My 8th grade year, one of Emilio's older cousins was a quarterback, and they had a huge senior class, and they did great, and they went farther than Sabinow's ever gone in history, right? And I was like, man, this is what it's going to be like. This is going to be awesome. We come out and play the first game next season. I'm starting on varsity, and we play Fall City, and they beat us like 65-0. And I went, oh my gosh, it's not as easy as I mean, I didn't know any better, right? Being so.
What year was that?
Funny. So that was my freshman year was 2008, I believe it was.
2008.
So they went to, it was the year before they won state, actually.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, Fall City was in my district my first year in 2012, and we go 10-3. And 2 of the losses was the Fall City in a district match and the Fall City in the third round playoff
man,
match. So
yeah.
like, we had the second best team in the region, but we had to play Fall City twice.
Yeah, Coach, we played Fall City 2 times in my 4 years, and I don't even remember if we scored a point on them, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah.
Well, that year, the first time we played great. They beat us 28-20. And I guess they remember. I think we just pissed them off for the playoff game because it was like 48-6 or something.
That's funny. That's awesome. That's awesome. So expectations for this year for you, it's playoffs, right? I mean, we're talking it's district championship. I mean, where's the mindset, I guess, really?
Well, we've talked about since the day I got here, and we haven't done it yet, but we've talked about since the day I've got here that they haven't won a playoff game here since 2001. And my kids talk about that every day about wanting to be that group. Now, is it going to happen? I don't know. I think that if you look at our schedule, in probably 6 or 7 of the games, we should be the favorite team. So we talked about hoping to set ourselves up a good enough playoff position to where we have a chance to be that team that wins that game. And that's one of my goals before I retire as I want to make sure. But when I got to Woodsboro, we went to the third round that first year, and they hadn't won a playoff game since '88. So, that's we talk about that almost daily.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's far reaching. A lot of coaches don't want to look ahead, but when we set goals, that's always goal number 1 is to be the next team to break that 23-year streak or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope. Now the district we match up in the playoffs is a killer. It's Davenport and it's Austin LBJ and it's Canyon Lake and it's Fredericksburg. But we played Canyon Lake close a couple times. We beat Fredericksburg a couple years ago. So hopefully we stay healthy and get out in a good enough playoff spot to give us a chance that first round.
Yeah. Any given Friday, right?
And I shouldn't say this, but I'll be like the last couple of years we had a couple injuries, but you look at that district we were in, and man, if we would have gotten in, and like I said, we tied for 4th last year, it would have been a huge accomplishment. I'll be very disappointed if we don't get in this new district. I'll be very disappointed.
That's good. That's good. When we opened up, you talked about your people and lighting the shed light on them. Do you have you got some assistant coaches that have been with you the whole 6 years? You have anything?
I have got one assistant coach that's been with me the whole 16 years.
Okay,
in fact,
wow.
we worked together as assistants, and he was the defense. When I got the head job in Woodsboro in 2012, he was the defensive coordinator in Aransas Pass. And I called him and I said, bro, in fact, I was living with him when I met my wife. I've known him longer than I've known my wife, and I've been married forever, right? So I called him. I said, bro, I got some dudes here. Like, I got some players. So he came in and met the players, and he interviewed with the principal and stuff like that. So he moved from Aransas Pass over to Woodsboro. And I've never coached a game where he hasn't been the defensive coordinator as a head coach. And it's nice, right? Because when you get ready on the weekends and you work, I don't even go in the defensive room. I mean, that's his domain, and it's nice. And then I have another one. I had 2. One of them left, but I have another one that came with me from Toloso that's been here all 6 years. In fact, we just got help finish helping him re-drywall his house. And then I've got multiple guys that were on staff. And in Corpus, when I had a job opening, I would put out a deal and I'd have 10 or 12 people to interview. Here, all of my coaches, unless they came with me, are either from Sabinal, Crystal City, Carrizo, Uvalde, Lakey, like they're all local people, and they're really good coaches, and they want to be here. And like I feel like I have a great coaching staff.
Yeah, that's great. I understand, the wanting to be here because I'm curious of, how big of a beneficial factor that is in having the local, because I understand, I have to hire people for my business and things too. And it's hard, sometimes maybe outside people may not look at Uvalde and really understand what it's about and the positive things that are here, right? They just see a dry area. So having some local guys is a big thing, right?
Yeah, and like this area, it's way out here, and then we have the stigma of the shooting and now the flood and all that kind of stuff. But come out here, cause like it's awesome out here,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's just it. I don't ever want to live anywhere else. In fact, I told my dad lives in San Marcos, and I told my wife when my dad passes, I'm never going east of Castroville again the rest of my life. I'm never doing it.
You almost can't get east of Castroville right now. It's
Yeah.
so dang.
Oh, I know.
There's so many people. You brought up, we brought up the unfortunate events. You bring it on the 21 jersey and the significance of that, right? It goes to a senior, and the senior group that you have coming in here. I'm sure you've had them since they were in seventh grade now. The leadership that group brings, and having to pick somebody out of that.
Well,
When you go through that, how much does that like mean truly and
and
consideration?
it means a lot this year because
Yeah.
the kid that's
Yes, sir. Yep. Oh, we lost him.
We lost him.
Hold on, folks. Technical difficulties.
Dang, I had one more question for him too.
Oh, well, hopefully we can get him back on. I'm gonna have to edit. I'm gonna have to edit this part out right here. Let me text him real quick.
I need to get the answer to my question.
What is it?
I'm fairly positive that my senior year was his first year at Woodsboro, and we lost on a onside kick because they recovered it, and we forgot to make a tackle, and they took it to the house, and we lost by 6.
No.
I just want to verify that that's true.
No.
House call on we kicked an onside kick, didn't recover it, and we forgot we were supposed to. You don't just let them recover it and then not make a tackle. You're not just down.
No, you got to make sure that you get that stuff going right there.
Yeah,
So,
no, house call.
yeah. Well, folks, we hope we can get him back on here. I was really looking forward to see if he'll rejoin. If not, that was that'll be okay. Should I leave this whole thing in just the podcast? and let
Yeah,
it roll?
why
Yeah,
not?
just let it roll. Make
It's just
everybody listen
that-
to us and our.
A little dead air never hurt anybody.
Yeah, never hurt anybody. Let's see if we can. I really hope that, like, since he fell off, it didn't stop loading, and then we
Yeah.
lose the whole damn thing. You know what I mean? That would be terrible.
That'd be our luck.
It'd just be us questioning and
It was
laughing.
going too well for it to not
Oh,
do that.
man.